Zodiac Academy is not just about fae and magic. It's about power, pain, and it's what happens when you're thrown into a world that tests every part of who you are. Today, we are going to be diving into Zodiac Academy. Hey readers, and welcome back to my channel. I am Wendy and I am so excited to share my journey into Zodiac Academy. Now, Zodiac Academy has been all over TikTok, all over booktube. It is one of the most popular sets of books that I have seen thus far. However, I never started this at all. I never read any single book. I just kind of left it in the back of my mind and I said, okay, well, one day I will have the courage to start Zodiac Academy. And you're asking yourself, well, why didn't you start this, Wendy? Like, what was the big deal? The big deal is that this is a 20-book series. However, some books are dedicated as a side quest. I like to call it a side quest, but they're books within the fandom that don't relate to the plots that are going on in Zodiac Academy. So Zodiac Academy has 9 books in total, and then there's 2 sets of books that are related to the story. However, they're kind of like side quests. I wanted to share with you guys what sequence I am reading these books in because there are a ton and it can get overwhelming. I got overwhelmed because people would tell me, hey, you should read books 1 through 3, then skip to this and that. So here is what I did. I read Zodiac Academy in this sequence, and this one was perfect for me and easier to understand and go through. However, I will say that I did not read Ruthless Boys only because I went into the first book and it doesn't relate to Zodiac Academy in that same plot, if that makes sense. The characters that are going to be introduced into book 4 of the series are in these books. So if you want Easter eggs and to get to know some of the backstory of some of the characters that do appear in book 4, then I suggest you do. I am transparent. I did not want to go through 5 books and then return back to Zodiac Academy because I am impatient. I wanted my plot back. I wanted the characters that I loved from book 1 through 3. So I just jumped right into book 4 after attempting to read Ruthless Boys. However, it is a series that I will be going back to. I'm not saying I'm never reading it, but in this case, I just wanted to get to my story and plots. So for those of you who have not ventured into your journey of Zodiac Academy, I just want to briefly talk about what this book is about and what does it entail. So Zodiac Academy follows twin sisters, Darcy and Tori. Now, both of these girls have not had the greatest life ever. They were pretty much orphans. Then they went through the whole foster care system and they never stayed in a home for more than 1 year. And that must have been rough. I'm not gonna lie. It's heartbreaking, especially as 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. I can't imagine that, but it's the reality of many children right now. Once these sisters turned 18, their last foster parent kind of kicked them out because they weren't getting a check from the government, and they were like, you know what, you guys are 18 and you're out. So they were forced into survival mode, getting money any way that they could and trying to keep a roof over their head, to pay rent, and also to keep food on the table, which was becoming very difficult for them. All of this changed once a man appeared to Tori, one of the twin sisters, and said, hey, I need to talk to you. She thought this was a stalker. She was like, oh no, this is a psychopath and he's following me home. He told her to hear him out and by using magic. So he talked to both of these sisters and said, hey, listen, you are not mortal. You are fae and you don't belong in this world. You belong in our world, in Solaria. And besides, you guys are pretty much princesses. Your father was a king and your mother was a queen. And so we need you to come back to Solaria. And the twins were like, are you freaking crazy? Like, are you on drugs? And he was like, nope, I'm not on drugs. Listen, you're fae, you have magical powers, and if you come with me, you will get your parents' inheritance. And that kind of clicked like a little light bulb with the sisters, and they were like, inheritance? You don't gotta ask me twice, okay? They were like, yeah, we're going. And the catch was they needed to complete their schooling at this academy in this fae world, and they would get all of the inheritance that their parents left them. And this book goes over so many different things that happen to these two twin sisters once they get there. Now, I am an emotional reader and I'm a mood reader. So in my channel, I always go through the emotional impact that books left me with, and also what spoke to me when I read this book. So what I picked up is the identity and belonging of these two girls. They had such a hard time acclimating to this Fae world. There's different rules, different things that they were never accustomed to. They grew up in a mortal world, so they don't know any rules, they don't know any regulations, they don't know what a disrespectful thing to do is. Tori, one of the sisters, she is very headstrong, very much in your face, doesn't care what you think about her, and she stands her ground. I mean, both sisters do, but I feel like Darcy is more subtle and more gentler than Tori. They look alike, obviously they're twins, but they differentiate in their demeanors and how they handle things. So they are struggling at the school as soon as they set foot in it, and I felt horrible. And I think both of them struggled with finding where they belong. They felt like outcasts. They felt like they were a different creature, even though they are Fae. And when they arrived at the school, everyone kind of knew who they were. So they also battled identity. Like, okay, do we identify as Fae? But we don't really know our backstory. We don't know our parents, our real biological parents. We have no idea what these people think of us. However, they quickly figured out that half of them were kind of like, oh, you guys are the Vegas sisters, which is their last name. They are very well known for their last name. So they're half of them are like, yeah, I like you and I'm glad you're back. Or they didn't feel indifferent about them being at the school. However, power is everything in this school. And so half of them did feel threatened. They are powerful and they're supposed to be the most powerful because they are daughters of the deceased king and queen. So they were expected to be powerful. Half the school, or majority of the school, felt like, what are they doing here? Are they gonna assume the throne now? Are they gonna dethrone the 4 hot boys that are there, which are the heirs? Like, what is their mission here? And I think that's what hit me hard, because it's like watching two versions of yourself trying to survive the same storm. And that brought me back to middle school and high school. And I was not always the popular girl. I was never the popular girl, actually. I was more reserved. I liked different things. I wasn't such a girly girl. I was more like a tomboy. I was looked at as different and maybe even weird. And so I absolutely felt for these two girls, because I know the feeling all too well of being different than somebody else or a group of people. And I just want to talk about the bullying in this book. This book made me angry. It made me so angry because they not only bullied these two girls, they assaulted them. And it was completely brutal. But this book also showed how power is used as a weapon. It shows that people who have been powerless their entire lives finally get a taste of that power. And I think that after some time, these two twins realized, listen, we have magic. We can do spells. We're going to be able to become something to shift into, whether it be vampires or wolves or dragons, but we have power and let's embrace it. And I just want to go into the romance part of it too, because I found that these 4 heirs in the book, which are the heirs to the throne, they felt so threatened by these twins. They were toxic, magnetic, and infuriating all at once. I wanted to throw my Kindle across the room many times. They were relentless. They would just pick at them at every corner, every chance they got. And I was like, oh my gosh, when are these two twins gonna like give them hell, give them something, you know? But they also represent the chaos we sometimes confuse for passion, and I couldn't look away. But all in all, I found this book to be extremely addicting. I don't know what they put in these books. I am up to book 5 of this series within 2 weeks. And to be frankly honest with you guys, I didn't always like this book, but that is kind of the point. It made me feel something even though it frustrated me, and that's totally rare. I rate this book 4 stars, and the reason being is because I wanted a little bit more from the twins. And I know they just got to the school, they just got their powers, and they're trying to figure things out. However, the brutality of this book was crazy. The bullying alone sent me over the edge, okay? And I found myself like, okay, when are they gonna get them back? When are they gonna get them back? And then when I got to book 2 and 3, I was like, okay, we're better now. We're totally better. Book 1 isn't perfect, but it is also the messy beginning of something so much bigger and so much deeper. And honestly, I think that's what drew me in, and I couldn't put it down. It's about sisterhood, survival, and the part of us that crave chaos, even when we know better. If you've read Zodiac Academy, tell me which character destroyed your sanity first, because I have options. A lot of options. If you enjoyed this video, please stay a while. I talk about books, what I think of them emotionally, and how did it impact me. So don't forget to like this video if it spoke to you, and don't forget to subscribe so you can stay a while. So thank you for being here, and thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on my next video.